who needs to be held accountable? Is it Gavin Newsom? Is it, there's a lot of talk about it sounds like the three top people in charge of the fire departments. Who needs to be held accountable? Is it Gavin Newsom? Is it, there's a lot of talk about the three, it sounds like the three top people in charge of the fire departments in LA, or DEI types. I mean, who needs to be held accountable there? Or is it the federal government?
All the above. And the best way to hold people accountable is elections. You know, California's got to wake up. Why do you keep voting for these people?
I don't know. I mean, shit, Gavin Newsom got recalled and they put him right back in there.
Yes.
But, you know, I mean, I don't know why this is. I can't wrap my head around it. California just doesn't make any damn sense to me. No. But I mean, so let's talk about
But accountability, it's important. I want to quick hit on that because accountability matters. And there is, as Pete Hegseth said in his interview yesterday, or is a hearing, you know, if you lose your rifle as a soldier, you're crucified. If you lose a war as a general, nobody cares. And that same paradigm holds true in wildfire. When these things happen, go through all these disastrous, huge wildfires and go find the chain of command for each of them, whether it's a federal agency or a state. You're very rarely going to find, if ever, that after these fires, after these disasters happen, it'll take 4 or 5 days to dispatch aircraft to go fight a fire. Why did that take so long? What happened, guys? Well, the system, you know? And how technical do you want to get on some of this stuff? Because I mean, there's some interesting technicalities, but I don't want to get too deep.
I think what I'm kind of leaning towards is let's just go down the chain of command here, or let's go down the chain. Who at the federal government needs to be held accountable? How can all these places that are having these wildfires, Hawaii, Texas, New Jersey, California, Washington, Oregon, how do they hold the federal government accountable, and who and why? Why?
Yep. So here is, now you are getting to the crux of the issue with wildfire. Why it's such a big problem and why we have not fixed it. Because there is nobody accountable. There is not a single confirmed or appointed position in the U.S. government that is accountable for wildfire. Not a single one. Not a single one. Now, there are employees down the chain who, you know, are career GS employees that have responsibility, but it's not like the military where, boom, it goes up. Secretary of Defense, you are responsible. Fix this shit now or you're gone. There is no train derails, Director of Transportation, get your ass in here. Why are our bridges collapsing? Fix it or you're gone. Planes are crashing. FAA Director, get your ass in here. If you don't have doors stop falling off Boeing planes, you're gone. NASA Director, Challenger just exploded. Why the fuck are our rocket boosters not, what's up with the O-rings? Fix it or you're gone. There is nobody in the U.S. government that can be held accountable.
So there needs to be some type of appointee.
Because how it works.
In the new administration that some kind of director of wildfire.
Exactly. And I'm not giving, I'm not criticizing anybody in the current government. I'm just stating a fact that there's no one to bring in, even if you wanted to. If Trump said, fine, get that guy in, who's our wildfire guy? They'd be like, oh, we don't have one. How do we not have one? Cities are burning down, millions of acres burning. What do you mean we don't have one? They'd be like, well, we're going through the paperwork, sir. It doesn't appear we have anybody responsible for it. And that's true, we don't. Now, how wildland fire responsibility is dictated is whose land it is. And here's part of the reason that we're delayed when we dispatch our aircraft, our helicopters, our ground crews, is the first thing that happens when a fire starts. It depends on where, but generally they pull out the land map and they figure out whose land is it. And they will literally argue over whose responsibility the fire is because it comes out of whoever's budget. Always comes back to money, right? This is BLM land, that's Department of Interior. This is BIA land, this is state park land, this is state trust land, this is county land, this is private land. And they'll look at the checkerboard map which is what land looks like when you look at land ownership map in the Western U.S., the checkerboard. And they'll basically argue over whose responsibility it is. And what we need to do is cross-cut. It's like 9/11. When they said, who the hell knew this was coming? And everyone got in the room. No one's putting the intelligence together from law enforcement to military to the intelligence community to say, we better start talking. And in the wildfire world, there is no cross-lateral communication that ensures that there's one responsible organization.
So there needs to be some type of a committee or an appointee
Yeah. Well,
that is created to
100%.
to-
And that
to
and that
oversee
person, the people that oversee wildland firefighting, who they exist under, are not. They're farmers, they're bureaucrats, they're administrators. They're not bad people, but they are not an emergency response organization. They are not. It's like taking a SEAL team and putting it under the Parks and Rec department. Like we have smoke jumpers and hot shots and water bomber pilots and hell attack crews and awesome guys that are alpha dudes and women like us who are tough. They go through tough training. They're awesome servants for their country. But then they work in an environment it's not an agency fit for purpose. You know, you and I always worked, at least at some point up the chain, we had meat eaters up there deciding whether we were going to go kill the bad guys or not. That is not the case in this community. You know, eventually the Department of Agriculture, the Forest Service guys are, 15 layers of grain traders and commodity crop, forecasters and administrators. And in the DOI, it's a little bit better. They're a little bit of a thinner bureaucracy, but firefighters are not led by other firefighters. And the decisions are not made about emergency response. They're made with a risk management outlook and a financial management outlook. How do we do this cheaper? How do we keep our people safe? Not how do I send a team in there to save this town and save this community?
So how do we start this? I mean, me and you just started the conversation, and hopefully it spreads. But I mean, how does this? I mean, how would that be implemented? Would that be implemented by the president? Would that be implemented by Congress and then go into the Senate? I mean,
both. Yeah.
How is that implemented?
It's got to be both. Again, one of the beautiful things about America is our republic, how our founders, who were so wise, designed an amazing form of government. It's not perfect, but it works better than anything else in the world. And dual track it. So the 119th Congress has to bring in wildfire accountability. This disaster is the wake-up call we've all been warning about for years, that we are not ready. We need to fix this. They need to bring in a real solution, not just more of these stupid hearings and commissions where everyone talks and nothing happens. They need to create a real legislative plan to actually create a national wildland firefighting service, task force, accountable commission, accountable agency that says we are going to be the accountable conduit for all firefighting. President Trump and the executive branch should say, I'm going to appoint a wildfire czar, a wildfire director, call it whatever the hell you want. But I want one guy from the executive branch to support our legislation over here as they craft this to make sure that we build a single point of contact and a single line of accountability so we can fight these fires. Because it cross-cuts the EPA. We got to get the EPA out of the way so we can manage the forests and we can not have to be not scooping water from places we should be scooping water. We need to get the Forest Service on board, the Department of Interior on board. We need to get state foresters and state Department of Natural Resources on board. The FAA, who governs aviation, they've got to make sure they craft a specific FAR so that aircraft that fight fires don't have to go through these circular carding inspection routines that take them so far from airworthiness in the mission that it wastes time and grounds capable aircraft. Right now, our wildfire fighting spectrum is spread across so many agencies that there's no accountability. It's impossible to hold them accountable.
So we need a committee or an appointee with bilateral communication from all these other organizations and agencies. Yeah. Let's move to the state level. California.
Yeah.
Governor Newsom. Is he held accountable? Does he need to be held accountable? Does he have, I mean, we talk about, why does this guy keep getting voted in? I mean, I think we need to educate on the discrepancies.
Yes.
If there are any, that he needs to be held accountable for.
I mean, they held PG&E accountable for billions of dollars for what they call gross negligence in the maintenance of their transmission lines that started the Camp Fire that destroyed Paradise, killed 100 people. I believe there should be legal repercussions for mismanagement. I believe there should be for city officials, county officials, state officials that said, hey, you ignored the warning signs. This wind event was forecasted that came through. Yes, fires can start, but the conditions the fires start in will impact their behavior. And aggressive, fast-moving fire behavior will be driven, especially in that type of fuel, which is the Southern California, the Santa Ana winds come in. It's well known in California. My wife's family farm is that area. It's up north of Camp Pendleton area, and they're up here by Camarillo. It's a fruit farm. She has two brothers with Down syndrome, and they use their farm as it's all Down syndrome kids work on there, and it's a way to keep them engaged and make them part of something. It's a really special spot, and it was destroyed in November by a wildfire. So again, this is a very personal issue for me. Her parents and kids and brothers got out, but it was a close call. But those fires moved so fast, and this wind event was forecasted, and there should have been dozens of planes and helicopters on standby, ready to go. They should have had evacuation plans already communicated in place very clearly. They should have had firefighting crews already deployed, ready to go. And they didn't.
What about the reservoirs?
Reservoirs.
Could Gavin Newsom have overridden that and said, no, pull from that reservoir right there?
I don't know the legality, but he certainly should have. I mean, that's what you do as a leader. You make tough decisions. Well, I can't violate this right because I can't. Damn well. I mean, you led overseas. All right, I know this is a rule, but guess what? People are dying. I'm going to break that rule right now, and I'll deal with the consequences later.
No matter where you're watching Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.